Today, we are talking to a no-nonsense stepmom who tells it like it is with all the advice that stepmoms need to hear. I'm Cameron. I spent years building my career and creating a life I loved. And when my Prince Charming finally showed up, he had 4 kids in tow. Fast forward through lots of mistakes made and lessons learned, step family life was much more complicated than I realized. If you're looking for help with blended family life, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Stepmom Diaries, where we keep it real as we dish about all the things. This is your weekly dose of blended family inspiration and encouragement. You're not the wicked stepmother, so let me help you find your fairy tale ending. Come on, let's do this. Today we've got another guest who is a speaker at our upcoming Stepmom Summit. You can find out information about the summit and sign up to register at thestepmomsummit.com. Today we have with us Maarit Miller of the Blended Family Frappe. Maarit is a writer, an artist, and a former single mama turned stepmama who literally wrote the book on disengaging. And today she helps blended families in high conflict situations find, as she puts it, some kind of zen as they navigate their way through dating, marriage, raising stepkids, and dealing with the ex. All the hard things, really. You can find her online at blendedfamilyfrappe.com or on Instagram at blendedfamilyfrappe. And I will put all her links in the show notes at thiscustomlife.com/episode 31. So without any further ado, let's get into it with Maarit. Maarit, welcome. I'm so excited you're here.
Hello, thank you. It's so good to be here.
Yes, and Maarit is in Hawaii right now, which I know we're all jealous about. We had a mishap the first time we tried to schedule the podcast because the reception in paradise wasn't as good as we would like.
Yes, and everything about Hawaii is very aloha except the internet. It's not aloha.
I know, but that may be a good thing, I think. Sometimes it's nice to get away. But I'm so glad we could catch up today.
Me too. I'll try to send the aloha through the microphone here and infuse it into the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I have lots of questions. And I guess, first of all, I'll let folks know that you're going to be speaking at our Stepmom Summit, which is coming up a couple of weeks from when we're taping this, but like really quickly after this actually airs. So we're so excited to have you there. And for anyone listening, you can find out more about that at thestepmomsummit.com. And so let's jump in. I have to tell you, I love following your Instagram account. And for those listening, we'll put all this in the show notes. But I love following your Instagram account because you say a lot of the things that people sometimes don't want to say out loud. And it's like this blunt talk that's just wonderful. But you focus a lot on helping stepmoms who are dealing with some really tricky, high conflict kind of situations. How did you decide to kind of take on that emphasis in your practice and, kind of the no holds barred approach? Because I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think, thank you. Mixed blessing, that is one of my special gifts, I guess, is I have always been a pretty blunt speaker and a truth seeker, and I just call out bullshit where I see it. And that is kind of my jam. That is kind of my jam in my personal life too. It has gotten me into some hot water from time to time. I'm not going to lie. But I found, this does actually tie directly into becoming a step parent, because I really found that as a step parent coming into the stepmom role, I really had to bite my tongue a lot. Like a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so for someone like me who's pretty outspoken, that was extra super hard. And then, further on down the road, I just realized I really didn't serve me. And, tiptoeing around and walking on eggshells and not having these very real, very hard conversations that I think are absolutely essential to creating the foundation that will blend your family. That just doesn't serve us. We have to be able to be realistic about what we're feeling, what we're thinking, what we're challenges we're facing and have those hard conversations with our partners and our stepkids, and even like friends and family who just are, if they're not being supportive and they're of the, well, you knew what you were getting into variety. Ugh, those people.
Oh, that's the
The
worst.
worst.
That is the worst. It's it's kind of like, I knew that I was going to be a stepmom, but I'm not sure that anybody is fully prepared.
Yep.
I mean, and it's honestly not that different than, when someone's becoming a mother. At least they have 9 months to get used to the idea, but you know that you're going to be a mom, but you aren't fully prepared for the full diapers and all the stuff that comes along with it,
Yeah, I was a single mom before I became a stepmom. And what I like to say
so tell me your stepmom story. You were a single mom.
That's my story.
Tell me how you met your husband and all that good stuff.
So I met him at work. We worked on the same, we were both in construction, and he is an electrician and I was painting murals at that time. And we met on the construction site and found out that we each had kids the same age. We both had one daughter and they were both the same age. And I was like, oh, well, I've never dated anyone with a kid before. This is probably going to be easier. Famous last words. This is probably going to be easier than dating someone without kids. Right.
Yeah.
And so in some ways,
you look back now and you're like, oh, that was so cute of me.
I mean, yeah, that's one of many things I look back on that I'm like, oh, Maarit. But I, later on, a little further on in my stepmom journey, when I started looking for help for becoming a stepmom, because I just was really struggling, and I just thought, well, I must be doing this wrong if it's so hard for me. I found that a lot of resources for step parents were written like every step parent coming in is just this, child-hating idiot and who's never even been around kids. And I was like, well, that means that if people are having problems with their stepkids, then that's like them because they don't know how to interact with kids. But I love kids. Well, I won't have those problems. Like, this isn't going to be, this isn't going to be an issue for me. So wrong. Again, wrong, super
Famous
wrong.
Last words, yeah.
Yep, super incorrect expectations. So anyway, so we dated with kids, and it was kind of a hot mess, but nevertheless, we persisted and ended up getting married. And then the conflict just went through the roof and parental alienation kicked in. It was all like the same year. It was just nutso. And it really just laid us flat and was super eye-opening about there is not help for this. There is not help out there for what we're going through, for the emotions that I'm feeling just about basic step parenting to a kid who not only wants nothing to do with us, like normal divorce, sulkiness, not wanting to go between homes, but is actively working against our idea of trying to be a family and like refusing to come to our house and saying she doesn't want to come to our house, And like, how am I supposed to navigate that as a step parent? And there just weren't resources out there, and found some online forums and found that over time, more and more people were coming to those forums with the same problems that I had. And I was like, oh,
I was just thinking, I think that that's such a common experience. And
it is.
Because a lot of stepmoms don't necessarily know where to turn. They don't know that it's a common experience.
Exactly.
And so they blame themselves, or they say, what have I done wrong?
Exactly.
Or, there's something wrong with my dynamic because the kid won't talk to me or come over. And
it's so common.
It's so common.
Yeah. And we don't talk about it. And so it's kind of terrible. Like, I was just like, oh, someone will start talking about this eventually. And no one did. And finally I was like, ugh, fine. I have things to say. I'm going to start this website and this Instagram account. And still no one is saying what I'm saying. And it's kind of wild to me that I think it's getting better. I think people are becoming more willing to just be a little bit honest about, hey, mixed feelings are okay. And it doesn't mean you're a monster. We all have our bad days. And I think that a lot of that is just, we kind of went through that era with motherhood itself, of moms being able to say, hey, yeah, I love being a mom, but I don't love it every single minute of every single day. And I don't have to be a good mom, And so we've normalized that now for the most part. And now I just think it's time for stepmoms. I think it is our turn to normalize our mixed feelings and say, yeah, us too. we need days off too. The kids, if they're only here part-time, doesn't mean I don't still need a break from them when they're here part-time. I still do. And I'm allowed to have mixed feelings. Doesn't make me a bad stepmom. Doesn't mean that I made the wrong choice. Doesn't mean I'm not totally committed to this family. I can still have mixed feelings and all of those things, So I just think it's really important.
I love the way, that's such an important message and I think, it's one of the things that I struggle with when I'm talking to stepmoms is, trying to make sure that they understand that these feelings are totally okay.
Yeah.
It is okay to, when you realize you've been putting yourself on the back burner, it's okay to say, hey, I need to set some boundaries so that I can have some time for myself or to take care of myself. Like they're just the basic, self-care that I think a lot of us end up ignoring.
Yeah.
And, we end up pushing ourselves really hard or getting sick or, whatever. And it doesn't help our family when we do that to ourselves. It doesn't help anybody that we're trying to be there for,
Yeah, it's really hard. I think a lot of that is women just being socialized into a serving position and a mothering role, even if it kills us. And it's really hard for us to draw those boundaries and draw those lines. And especially when we're working within these parameters of these beliefs about what our family should, quote unquote, look like or feel like or act like, so we don't, me not spending time with my stepdaughter when she's only here one weekend a month is obviously not going to help us be a family. So even if she's being awful to me, I need to connect with her. Like I have to keep pushing at this. The thing is no, actually, maybe you don't. Like maybe it is okay. Maybe it is okay that, maybe it is okay for your stepkid to not like you. Like if you knew that was normal and you knew that was common, it would stress you out less, and you could probably try less and be able to say, it's like a toddler throwing a tantrum where you're able to say, but it's the terrible twos. And in a couple of years, we're going to be through this. Like it's hard now, but it's part of the process and it won't be like this forever. And I think as step-parents, we really need to understand that a lot of what is so hard and challenging is part of the process. And it isn't that we're doing something wrong or that we're failing. It's just messy, it's complicated, and it takes a long ass time to blend a family. And we don't know that at the beginning of the journey.
That's so true. So true. So, you've had, I think, some unique challenges, although really, I think a lot of people end up experiencing the parental alienation and the high conflict and stuff like that. So, how did you deal with it? Because I know it is hard, like we were just talking about, if your stepchild is, screaming at you all the time or telling you how much they hate you and you ruin their life. I mean, you can sort of in your head know that, they're maybe misdirecting that anger or maybe have internalized some messaging from the other house.
Yeah.
But it still hurts to hear. And as a stepmom, that still affects your confidence. And, you're sort of like, well, I guess maybe I do suck at this,
Oh my God.
How do you talk to stepmoms about doing this? How did you manage that?
Oh, not well. I mean, I'll just say off the bat, we did not manage that well at all. I think Dan and I have had 8 million conversations of me in tears saying, like, you should not be with me. You need to be with someone that your daughter doesn't hate. She deserves better. You deserve better. And then, like, also as a parent myself, I just could not conceive of being with a partner that my kid rejected like that. And I just wouldn't make that decision. I thought Dan was kind of nuts to make that decision. And I didn't understand.
Well, and did you know from the get-go that there was parental alienation going on?
No.
Or were you kind of figuring that out as you went?
So parental alienation really wasn't a thing. I mean, we're like 15 years in. So when I'm talking about, this is like a decade plus ago that we were in our worst years. And there just wasn't that information out there. I think parental alienation
well, I guess
was
for those
still
listening,
a newfangled kind of a thing. And I really ended up learning about it completely by accident. And we didn't know high conflict.
When then you read through it and you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what I was like. That scene in Groundhog Day when Bill Murray is like, me. And that was me reading the parental alienation stuff like, oh my God, this is exactly what this is a thing. Oh my God. And it was just like this weight had been lifted that we were not the ones, who just were messing up or whatever, that it was like, oh, this is a thing. This is a thing that requires a different approach. It was just a real relief. But yeah.
Well, and for those listening who maybe don't know what parental alienation is, maybe just a quick, like 30-second, what this is that we're talking about.
Sure, super quick.
This is sort of lingo for us.
The shortest version is the deliberate, intentional turning the kid, one parent turning the kid against the other, and it's working. I always like to add that last part, because it really isn't alienation if it's not working. I mean, it's shitty behavior, not going to lie. I would say it's attempted alienation. But if the kid is kind of rolling their eyes at it and like, you know how mom is, or you know how dad is, they just, or whatever. Because I have heard a lot of stories like that too, where they're like, yeah, the ex trash talks us, but the kid is fine at our house. I'm like, then you're probably good, Yeah. But when the kid starts actually rejecting you and buying into that stuff and going along with that programming and that brainwashing, that to me is alienation. Is deliberate, and it's intentional and consistent. And it's a consistent pattern.
Yeah, and it's hard as a stepmom when you have this kind of vitriol directed at you to kind of pull back and, say to yourself objectively, okay, so clearly we're being talked about at the other house. There's some outside influence here. This is not really the child. This is not their thought. They don't know what they're doing because their brain is not fully developed yet. Like, that's not really what comes across your mind.
No,
that's not the first thing that comes into your mind when this is all, when you're in the thick of it.
No, that's what I tell myself when I'm talking myself off the ledge, right? It's like, okay, just remind yourself, like, this is a child who is being brainwashed and manipulated, and it is not her fault. It's also really hard, like with an older kid, my stepdaughter was 10, 11, 12 in our worst alienation years. I'm like, this is a child who's old enough to know better. She has a decade of life with her dad, she knows he's an amazing father. She knows none of this stuff is true. Like, what is happening, So it's also really hard. So even if your logical brain understands, yes, this kid is being brainwashed, my emotional brain is like, yeah, but it's such bullshit. How come she can't see it? And I think is helpful. At the time, I was not able to tell myself this, but now with hindsight, I look back and can just remind myself, past Maarit, I guess, is that this is a survival tactic. If they're convincing you that they hate you and it's working, then they stay alive, they survive, and they are not in trouble at the other house. And you just have to trust, even though it's so scary, it just triggers all of your fear about, oh my God, I'm going to lose my kid. This is destroying our family. And it feels like you are losing your kid, and it is destroying your family. But again, looking back, I can see that really was an illusion, and that underneath of it, nothing was going to destroy us being a family. It would have been so much better for us to go into it and kind of low-key been like, well, I understand that you're upset and this is how you feel, but we're going to keep following the judge's orders, and we love you, and it's important for us to spend time with you, and, and just kind of treat it like any other nonsensical thing that kids do. And it's so hard to not give alienation weight. And I'm not saying it isn't extremely serious. It is serious and just heartbreaking and devastating. But when we react to it from a place of fear and anger, then we feed into it and make it worse. Whereas if we can look at it from a place of, okay, this isn't good right now, but we're going to leave the doors open, and I'm going to keep, think about the big picture. And that was one thing that Dan and I did right, was I kept saying, listen, eventually this kid's going to be old enough that she's going to either come out of this, or she's going to look back at her childhood and say, wait a second, hold up now. At some point that is going to happen. And we have to remember that our relationship with her is not this time right now while she's a child. We still have, 60 years with this kid after she turns 18. Well, okay, maybe not that many years, but like math. I can't do, no one's doing math on a podcast. Anyway, we've got a lot of time. We forget when we're in it, raising kids, that most of the years we spend with our children is after they hit adulthood. And so that is part of your relationship too. And don't underestimate what is going to turn around. this is a kid. So my relationship with my stepdaughter now is fine. She called me the other day. We talked for an hour. I think that's happened maybe
That's amazing.
Twice in our relationship. And things are really normal with her. And if you would have told me that even just a few years ago, I would have been like, that will never happen. But it did. And it turned on a dime. And you just kind of never know when it's going to turn around again, which is how it started too. It started literally between one visitation weekend and the next, just like someone flipped a switch. And that's how it stopped too. And it's been miraculous. And I know that we are one of the lucky ones because it just as easily could have gone the other way. So I think it's just important to, along the way, to just be thankful for whatever it is, like however much time. If they refuse to come to your house, but they'll have dinner with you, just focus on having that dinner together and, enjoy it. And also back to the step-parent, the original question, which was, as a step-parent, how do you navigate it? One thing that I did realize even while I was in it was, if this kid is refusing to have a relationship with her father, then I definitely don't have a chance. And it took a lot of pressure off to keep trying with her. And instead, I just shifted my energy and focus to supporting my husband because he was really struggling and grieving. And I think that me doing that really made it a lot easier all around in our household and less stressful and less, because I just was like, yep, their relationship is between them. And if they heal that breach, then then we'll talk about me and her. But that is just a way down the road thing. My relationship with her is so not important compared to my husband's relationship with his own daughter. And I'm just, if I need to be around less for her to come here, then that's what I'm going to do. And if I need to, I didn't, but I just talked myself into it. But I just was like, yep, I'm just going to make it as easy as I can for him to see her and do what we need to do and hope that that works,
That's amazing. That's really good advice. And it takes the pressure off of you as a stepmom to feel like you've got to help solve this thing that, you're not responsible for and that you're really not going to be able to solve anyway. But
honestly, we have that misconception about literally everything in our blended families, even simple little things that are not big, scary things like alienation, is we think that it's on us to fix it, and we think we can fix it.
Absolutely.
And it's just so damaging to our mental health and our self-esteem, because then we can't, because we literally cannot, but then we blame ourselves and just are hard on ourselves for not fixing these things that are impossible for us to fix.
So true. Oh, good advice here. So let's shift gears a little bit. Although I could talk about parental alienation forever, because honestly, it fascinates me. We've had some in our family. Like I just think it's such an interesting topic. But you're speaking at the Stepmom Summit coming up about sort of the stepmom expectations versus reality, which like all of us have had to deal with, especially in a high conflict situation. I mean, I know when I first, when I was engaged to Craig, in fact, I was just talking about this with someone yesterday. By the time our wedding day came around, I already had the monogrammed Easter baskets and the monogrammed Christmas stockings. And like, I just knew the holidays were going to be perfect and it was going to be amazing. And yeah, that, that was blown up pretty quickly. So, I mean, you've talked a little bit about, your reality versus expectations, but how do you advise your stepmoms that you coach to deal with that? What's sort of the best way to, because it's really hard, I think, when a stepmom gets into it and then has that kind of realization dawn on them that this is not what I thought I was getting.
Yes. This is not what I signed up for. Thank you. My advice is to focus the time and energy that you spend on fighting how things really are and turn that into acceptance instead. Not saying that we should just lie down and take it or be doormats. Nope, I'm against that. But as to your example of perfect holidays, that's a great example of, okay, realistically, we have this idea in our head. Here's how I want to spend here's how I want to spend Christmas with the kids. These are the traditions I had in my family. I want to do XYZ with the kids. Well, the reality is the custody schedule means they're not with us on Christmas. And you can be really sad about it, but you can also, and I think that's normal and okay. And I will never say don't grieve the loss of that reality, like grieve it, grieve your way through that. But also, okay, so can you celebrate on a different day? Look for a way that you can make it okay. And is it your perfect image of how you wanted it to be? No. Is it still this cool, special thing that is just yours and just for your family? Well, yeah. Well, that makes it a tradition, you guys, and just run with it. And instead of looking at all of the things that we have to give up to be in a step family, I think it's really important to look at all of the, this will sound like how my husband is a ridiculous optimist. And I always say Dan level optimism. So I was going to say, this is like some Dan level optimism. And I don't mean it to sound like, oh, just look for the opportunities to just make it your own. But like, I don't mean it in a dismissive, ridiculous way, but it takes work. I'm not going to lie. It is really, really hard, especially like the first year you do your whatever weird made up Christmas tradition that you start for the first time. Feels fake, feels ridiculous. I remember going through that, like, this is the most ridiculous Christmas idea I have ever had. But the thing is, our kids don't know. Our kids and stepkids, they grow up with it and they don't know that it's a made up thing and it becomes their tradition. So in our family, our custody schedules, our girls' holiday custody schedules are opposite. And so Dan always had his daughter at Thanksgiving. My daughter always spends Thanksgiving with her dad. So how do we navigate that? Like, we still want to celebrate holidays. And so I came up with this made up holiday. I'm like, gosh, I really want my stepdaughter to experience like the big family holidays that we have in my family with my extended family. And she's never here for them, or when she's here, my bio daughter isn't here. And like, I just want a big thing.
Yeah,
and I'm
you
like,
want everybody.
Yeah, and then I was like, why don't I just throw my own party? So the weekend before Thanksgiving, I make a huge pot of French onion soup. And the kids invite their friends or their coworkers or whoever, and we invite family if they're in town, and Dan's, rock climbing friends and whoever's around. And we just have this big blowout. We call it Thankful French Onion Soup Day. Completely made up holiday.
I love that.
And it's so fun. And the kids now are like ride or die about Thankful French Onion Soup Day. They will come across the country because they just love it. I've only been doing this for 5 years, Cameron. This is not something that, like, it just started in kind of high school years and they're just obsessed with it. I'm like, hey, you never know. Okay, Thankful French Onion Soup Day. Why not? But you just kind of...
That's amazing.
Yeah, you just kind of have to go all in with the silliness of it because it is kind of silly, and be willing to let go also of the traditions that you grew up with. And I just think it's okay, again, to be sad about that, but like, see how you can turn it into a new thing along the way, maybe, So we still have the big giant family gathering, but we don't have turkey, but it works out. It's really fun and everyone has a good time.
I love that. And I love the way that it kind of takes, something that does make you sad and makes you want to grieve and kind of, soak in it for a little while and really lets you move past it and, in a positive way with a more grateful outlook. I think that's fantastic.
It's, and it's complicated. My sister says, she actually just got divorced, but her now ex-husband was Jewish. And she says that a lot of the stuff I write about stepfamilies also applies to interfaith marriages in the terms of like needing to navigate the loss of traditions and creating new traditions and finding ways to celebrate different things. And it's just,
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't
really
either until she said that. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, it's just there are so many people facing these challenges that we just kind of don't realize. And I think it's really important to, again, talk about it, normalize it, and be open to discussing it and come up with creative solutions for these problems that we pretty much all have.
Well, and the being open to discussing it is a huge thing too. And I talk to a lot of my stepmoms about, the importance of communicating these expectations and even the disappointment around them to your spouse and your partner, because, if they don't know, and I remember it was when we were engaged. We had not yet gotten married, but it was Christmas time. And I remember saying to Craig, well, so what are we going to do for the kids? What's the tradition? And he just kind of looked at me and he's like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't do the Christmas stuff. And also, like, there's not really tradition anymore because I haven't been married to their mother for a while. And like, I don't know, they'll come over and open presents. And it occurred to me that like all of a sudden, here I was, and it was up to us to find a new tradition.
Yeah, that was
to shape things together, but we were able to kind of have that conversation and both sort of be open about the fact that this was a different kind of set of circumstances than we thought that it was going to be. And I mean, because I kept imagining like my family traditions growing up, and I thought, well, surely he's doing all this stuff with the kids. And well, no, he wasn't, because every family does things differently. And, their family had been broken apart, and things were just different. So, and that's all okay. In the moment, it's a little, jarring.
Yeah. And I think we can also get caught up in feeling like, well, we have to make sure that the kids have it exactly the same as they've always had it. And I don't think that necessarily serves the kids, because the reality is it isn't the way it always was. And the divorce is the end of that first family. And again, that is okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay and normal. And it is okay to introduce new traditions and say, well, I know that is how we used to do things, but now we're going to do it this way. And we can still find middle ground there, kids, but we're not going to do, X, Y, Z. I hear about so many families still doing, big holiday celebrations with the ex because, we don't want to make it hard on the kids. And yeah. So this is a podcast, and I see the face that you're making, even though the listeners cannot see your face. But.
I know. I just grimaced pretty hard. Well, because it's like, let's keep it the same for the kids, and all of this like awkward standing around with, unless you have a really good relationship with that ex, that is, that's maybe the kids pick up on that, and that's maybe not the.
Yeah, exactly. So
anyway, that's the subject for another podcast, I think.
I was gonna say, we could have a whole episode just on that, but yeah.
Well, this has been so much fun. And I think that our listeners are going to really enjoy seeing you at the Stepmom Summit. And so if you haven't signed up, head over to thestepmomsummit.com and sign up, and you can see Maarit. I knew I was going to do that. It's my Southern tongue, Maarit.
It's no problem. If I had a nickel for everyone who mispronounced my name, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I knew I was going to do it. At least I kind of caught myself, just not in enough time to not embarrass myself, but that's okay. Anyway, I think you guys are really going to enjoy listening to Maarit talk about expectations and reality. And it's going to be a really good talk. And thank you so much for spending the time today. This was really fun. And, I think everybody has learned a lot. I think that you've got a really great perspective on all of this complicated stuff.
Oh, thank you. If only I would have had this perspective 10 years ago, life would have been much easier.
I know, hindsight, right? Mm-hmm. Well, thanks so much, and we will see you at the summit.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Cameron.
That's it for this week. If you've enjoyed our chat, I hope you'll help spread the word. Share this episode with friends, and head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave me a review. And don't forget, for more great stepmom content, head on over to thiscustomlife.com and follow me on social media. Just search This Custom Life on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Until next time, you keep being you and know that we are in this together. See you here next week.